The open border in Northern Ireland is not a technical question about how you get people or goods across a line in the road. It's the manifestation of peace. We will never accept Boris Johnson's reckless approach, never. And that's why we were right over the summer to work on a cross-party basis with Jeremy Corbyn bringing together the opposition party leaders to take over Parliament 3 weeks ago and pass a law to prevent a no-deal Brexit on the 31st of October. We used to call Theresa May's government the zombie government, but at least she occasionally won a vote. So far with this Prime Minister, it's Johnson 0, Corbyn 6. And doesn't it tell you everything you need to know about Boris Johnson, that we had to pass a law to prevent him crashing us out the EU without a deal, and that his first instinct is to try and break that law. His first instinct is to try and break that law. No one is above the law. And Prime Minister, if you think we're going to sit idly by whilst you break the law, you've got another thing coming. Mark my words. Whenever we return to Parliament, and the sooner the better, we will be ready. A conference. Despite all that, let's be honest with each other. Preventing no deal is vital, but it isn't an end in itself. It's an insurance policy. It won't break the deadlock, and the country desperately wants to move on. And we have to find a way forward. We're under a duty to find a way forward. And there's now only one way. Whether in this government or the next, put it to the people. Conference, too much has happened in the last 3 years for this now to be decided without the consent of the public. We need to ask them a basic and vital question. Are you prepared to leave with the best deal that can be secured, or wouldn't you rather remain in the EU? People must have that final say. A referendum in which Remain should and will be on the ballot paper along with the best leave deal that can be secured. And conference, we owe it to those who want to leave to secure that best leave deal and offer it as an option. But if Remain wins, we will remain a member of the EU, a full member of the EU. Conference. Last year I stood before you and said nobody was ruling out the option of Remain. We've come a long way. An election is coming. We've got a Prime Minister with no mandate, no plan, and no majority. We've beaten the Tories in Parliament, and as and when necessary, we'll beat them again in Parliament. I'm determined about that. But soon we're going to have to beat them at the ballot box. It's a stark choice. If we lose, we risk another wasted decade, a no-deal Brexit, a hard right agenda, stripping away rights and protections and selling off public services. But if we win, Labour can pull this country back from the brink. Labour can end austerity, rebuild our public services, invest in our communities. The stakes could hardly be higher. And so I can tell you today, an incoming Labour government will legislate for a referendum immediately on taking power and hold that referendum within 6 months. That is our commitment. And I have a simple message. If you want a referendum, vote Labour. If you want a final say on Brexit, vote Labour. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Conference, you know where I stand on the question of Remain. I've said many times that I will campaign for Remain. But let me be very clear, I respect all of those who argue the other way. And Conference, let us go into this crucial period of our history with our eyes open. We campaigned in 2016 for Remain because of our values. Because of our values. We are internationalists. We stand in solidarity with our friends and neighbours in Europe. We profoundly believe in peace, in reconciliation, in human rights and collaboration across borders. And we will never put peace in Northern Ireland in jeopardy. Conference, those are our values, socialist values, then and now, and let them guide us through this next period of history. But Conference, we didn't just campaign to Remain. We campaigned to Remain and reform. Remain and reform. And the Labour Party cannot and should not just defend the status quo in Europe or at home. We have to make the case for radical reform. We're the largest socialist party in Europe. It's our duty to lead. Let us bring our sister parties together across Europe and host an international conference to forge our shared plan for a social Europe, with the UK at the heart, not sitting on the sidelines, leading, not pleading. But Conference, we also need to recognise that Brexit is deeper and bigger than the simple question of our relationship with the EU, and we will never get past Brexit if we don't understand why, in 2016, millions of people said they wanted change. They didn't just speak, they shouted. They told us that the political and economic system was not working. And they were right about that. The status quo is bust. We see inequality and injustice everywhere. We desperately need a fundamental shift in power, in wealth, and in opportunity. That is why our 2017 manifesto was so popular, and we must build on it. Only Labour can end child poverty. Only Labour can confront the moral disgrace of homelessness. Only Labour can transform our economy, end insecure work, raise wages and create good jobs across the country. Only Labour will invest and rebuild our NHS and public services. And only a Labour government will tackle the climate emergency so that we can look the next generation in the eye and say, we did not let you down. The conference of Tories have failed. They have wrecked our economy. They've wrecked our public services. They've wrecked our welfare state. And now they're wrecking our international reputation. Their time is up. We have to beat them, and we will. We have to defeat Johnson, and we will. We have to defeat his politics and show that decency can triumph. We have to deliver a radical Labour government and give people the final say on whether to remain in the EU. Let's get on with it. Thank you, Conference. Thank you, Conference. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Keir. Conference, we will now take the votes. Ooh. I'm just going to explain how we're going to do this. We will take these votes, at least initially, as a show of hands. Sorry?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it's not in? All right. It won't be in. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, delegates. So initially we will take this on a show of hands. If it's unclear or close, then we will move to a card vote. Well, come down then.
Sorry.
Can we settle down and take this point of order, please?
Okay, my point of order is there is a huge extra number of people in the hall who have been allowed in for that last speech. So they're lining all the way around and all the way around the back. And they've come in and they've made themselves available in the seats that have been free. How do we know the people that are putting their hands up are actually the delegates and those who are mandated to vote when we've got a hall full of people who should not actually be in here? Can we clear the hall, the floor, so it goes back to delegates and those people are asked to leave? I'm not telling who they are.
I'm not going to do a card vote on the point of order. What I am going to say is all of those people that have come in for Keir's speech and you're not delegates, could I ask you now to leave the room?
Thank you.
Okay, and if you are delegates and you are standing up around the side, can you please return to your seats? Thank you. Oh. Right, okay, let's move on. There may be some people that are still stood, but they are staff. But I will ignore anybody that puts their hand up at the side or the back. I'm only going to look at the people that are seated. Okay, so the first vote is on the NEC. Okay, just before we go to the vote, we will get there eventually. If you recall from Yasmin's contribution this morning, if the statement is carried, it doesn't mean to say that we will not continue to vote on composite 13 and 14. No, I'm moving to the vote. It's been explained. I am moving to the vote. So can I see all those in favour for the NEC statement on Brexit? Okay, thank you. And can I see all those against? Okay, that is clearly carried. Delegates, we do have a number of other votes to take. And the next one is your favourite ones on the reference back. And the first one that you was referenced back was on the International Policy Commission annual report from Brighton, Kemp Town. Can I see all those in favour of that reference back? Looks like it's carried. Okay, thank you. And all those against reference back? That's carried. That's clearly carried. I have two further reference back that was moved from the floor. And the first one was from Tottenham CLP, which was page 124, paragraph 2. Can I see all those in favour of the reference back? Okay, thank you. Anyone against? That's clearly carried. Third one is from Liverpool Wavertree, which again was on page 124 on Kashmir. Can I see all those in favour of the reference back? Thank you. And anyone against? That is clearly carried. Okay, moving then on to Composite 11 on Yemen. Can I see all those in favour of Comp 11? Thank you. And anyone against? That's carried unanimously. Moving on to Composite 12, Ethical Foreign Policy. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you. And anyone against? Almost unanimous, but clearly carried. Now moving on to Composite 13, Brexit. Can I see all those in favour of Composite 13? Thank you. And all those against? Sorry, I thought it was one way, and Jenny said something else, so...
It is lost, yeah.
Yes, that was lost. We're calling for a card vote.
It's overwhelming. It's obviously.
Card vote. There's enough of them on the feet, is there not? What's the advice? Can we sit down? I know that's a difficult... Sorry? Okay. Just, can I just look? Whichever way I go with this, I'm going to be in trouble with some people. In my view, it was carried. It was in my view, it was carried.
It's lost.
No, it's lost.
Just... Sorry. Listen, I'm getting advice. It was lost. Sorry.
Very clear.
And whilst I accept we had a number of card votes yesterday, it was closer than what this was. It's a very difficult. It isn't. We have nothing in our standing orders or constitution, which some organisations have, where if there's a number of people calling for it, we can do that. So it's the decision has to be, as I called it, that it was lost. And that's very difficult. And look, I understand the difficulties. We've had a really good debate. We've respected each other's points of view, and at the point where, you know, I can't, if it wasn't clear, I'd have asked for a card vote.
Conference, this is one of the most important decisions that the Labour Party will take this decade, and I think we deserve a card vote here. We have already heard from delegates. We've already heard from delegates that the unions actually are quite split on this. Unison are in favour of Composite 13. Unite were against. I think it's impossible to tell from the floor, given Given the number of card votes we had yesterday, we deserve a card vote here today. Democracy in action.
No. Let's... Delegates, no. Absolutely, please sit down. And to the last person, you can see my lanyard. I'm a member of Unison, a former president, and they will expect me to do what's right. And if it was carried, I would have said that, and it was lost, and they will accept that as well. That's what our democracy does, and that was lost. I want us to leave, and I want us to be right with each other, because the most important thing for any of us is a Labour government to deal with all the issues that we've talked about this week. So I'm now moving on to Composite 14. No, I'm not going back to that. We've had the discussion. I know you'll be upset. No, I'm moving on to Composite 14, Brexit. Can I see all those in favour? No, I'm not going to be bullied and shouted at and all the rest of it. The decision's been made. Composite, no, I'm not taking a point of order on the same point. I moved on to Composite 14. Can I see all those in favour of Comp 14? Thank you. And all those against? OK, that is carried. No, don't do that. Delegates, can I ask you to sit down, please? OK, the next vote will be on the emergency motion. Human rights for the Uyghurs. I won't get that right again. Can I see all those in favour of the emergency motion? Thank you. And anyone against? That is overwhelmingly carried. And next, we have the MPF report on the International Policy Commission. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you. That is clearly carried. Conference, just before we adjourn, I want to just make a comment about the Thomas Cook crisis. 22,000 jobs worldwide will be lost, 9,000 in this country. 250 million the RBS would have cost to save them. £600 million of taxpayers' money to bring our people home. Shame on you, RBS. Thomas Cook, a company born in the UK, let down by the RBS and this Tory government. 9,000 workers let down yet again by these Tories. Let's give our support to those workers and their union, the TSSA. Thank you, delegates. And if you could just indulge me one more time, because this is the last. I have a nephew who was jumping up and down the other day at the telly on Saturday. So there you go. I'm waving back to you now. So, conference, we will now adjourn. until 8:30 tomorrow morning, when there are the seminars. Our next plenary session is at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you, delegates. Thank you, conference.
Well done, Wendy. That was